Well, hello everyone. This is High Frontier for All. It's a board game that I just got. It's game number one, Space Diamonds. This is the introductory game for High Frontier for All. This is the fourth edition of this game, which started 14 years ago. And now it's really nice. It's got a whole bunch of information in there. It's got different modules. But you know what? We're going to start with the very, very basics, the most basic that you can possibly get with this game. And I know that it looks somewhat complicated. I get that. It looks very complicated. However, it's not really that complicated. There are not actually too many rules in this version of the game. So we're going to start off slowly. This is going to be a series. And we're going to see how this goes because, I want to play this game to its full extent because I have the modules as well. But we're going to go nice and slow so we can learn this together. This is the first time that I'm actually ever playing it. I didn't even do any kind of free play or anything like that. So we're going to learn this together. All right, so let's explain what's going on here. This obviously is a map of the solar system. I've got it zoomed in order to be able to show you just the area in which this game contains, this introductory game called Space Diamonds. And really what the Space Diamonds game is that it's a game between 2 and 5 players. So I have cards up here set up for 3. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off here. There we go. So you can see that there are 3 different sets of cards here. Here's one set, here's another set, and here's another set. And one of the sets, and one of the cards in the set is a thruster. So I'm going to go ahead and see if we can show this thruster here. This is a spacecraft, and it is let's see if we can get it, the solar powered sail. So this is being powered by the sun. And you can see that over here, this thrust triangle here. This thrust triangle is going to be very critical for all of our spacecraft in the future. So the thrust triangle shows that it's powered by the sun, that it has 2 thrust, and that it uses 0 fuel because it's powered by the sun. So it has also 1 dry mass. That's going to be important in the future. Right now, it really doesn't matter because this thing's very light. You're going to be able to sail wherever we like it to go. So there are some things with the solar sail that you need to know. And that is, as you can see, there's different colors here in these rings around the sun. So here's the sun. And the first ring here is the Mercury ring. The second ring here is the Venus ring. The third ring here is the Earth ring, and the fourth ring here is the Mars ring. So here's the Earth right here. Here's Venus, and here's Mercury, and here's Mars up here, okay? So the solar sail works like this. In the Earth zone, you'll see right here, it says Earth. Well, it's very difficult for you to read this. I understand that. But right here, it says Earth, Sun plus 0. What that means is that there's not going to be any boosting that goes on from the sun in the Earth zone. In other words, the solar sail is going to have 2 thrust, and it's going to be added plus 0. Now, in Venus zone, it's closer to the sun, so it gets some help from the sun in terms of boosting it. It says Venus plus 1. So in Venus zone, we will have 3 thrust. In Mercury, we will have 4 because it's Mercury is plus 2. In Mars, it's minus 1. So in Mars, we only have 1. Now, what does that mean in terms of thrust? Well, what it means is you can see on this map a whole bunch of different dots. These are all sites. These are also sites, the ones with the letters on them. Those are actual objects that you can land on. But these spots here are spots that are basically stopping points or burning points. So this is where you need to burn your engine in order to use thrust to go places, right? So there are some places, though, big star places like this, which are Lagrange points. And Lagrange points are basically the point between two different bodies that have really no effect on whatever is there at that point. In other words, the gravity is equalized and you can pretty much move wherever you'd like to on that. So those are not stopping points. They can be if you'd like, but they don't have to be. But these burn points are basically stopping points if you do not have any more thrust available to burn your rocket. So that's really the only thing that you need to know in order to really get started on this. So it's kind of simple in that respect, but as we go through this series, you'll see how things get way complicated, and hopefully we'll stick around to be able to go to outer planets and even beyond. But what we're going to do now, I've got 3 different players set up here. So I'm going to play this basically 3 times with 3 different players. The neat thing, though, is that they all have different objectives. So I'll show you here. The objective for this one is to have the most number of isofuel chits. Basically, all these sites right here that we're going to land on, you're going to take that chit once you land on it, and some of them have isofuel on it, and then they're represented by this icon here, this yellow drop basically. So this person wants the most iso chits at the end of the game. This person here wants to go to the Venus aerostat exity. So this is Cloud City General. And up here is really cool because it tells you where this thing is on the map. This is the Venus, the sign for Venus. And this is the clock of where you'd find it. In other words, the sun is here. The clock is written here. You can see these Roman numerals around the side. So 6:45 is basically right there. So that's how easy you can find things on this. So 6:45, this right here is the Venus exity. So, sorry, Venus aerostat exity. All right, it's a C site, and C site means that is the spectral type of that body. So you can, the spectral type is basically what color it comes through when you read its light spectrum. So each of these different sites here are different. Those are going to be right now, though. It's basically these are letters that represent each of these spectral types, which actually matters in some respects for this game, because as you can see on this card has the objective to have 1 chit of each spectral type. You see, the C, M, S, D, V, and H. So this player is going to want to go out and collect 1 of each of those different letters. All right. So now that we know what our objectives are for each of these players, and we'll just go from left to right here. And we'll start off with this player first. And this player just wants to basically get these iso chits. There's no way to know which ones are iso chits. You just have to go and discover them. So everyone starts here on Earth, but actually not on Earth. They start in a space that's called LEO. Right here, Leo. I know you can't read that. It's very small, but Leo is LEO. That's the low Earth orbit. So we're not actually blasting off from Earth. We're actually in low Earth orbit right now with our solar sail. There's only one place that you can go from here, and that is to the cycler. And the cycler is basically the area where you can travel to a whole bunch of different locations. And this is really where you start from. There are also nice colors here that you can see. where this is a red color, this is a blue color, this is a green color, this is a purple color. Those are helpers for you to be able to know where it goes. The text down here says LEO to Mars 3. This one says LEO to Ceres 4.5. And that's the number of burns that you need to take in order to get there. This is an LEO to Hertha, which is 3.0. So this one is a LEO to Uranus. So it's 6 burns. So it's a really good helper for you to do this. Also, there's a yellow one that's over here as well. And this yellow one basically goes to the interplanetary transport network, because this one can go out here, and that's what's going to get you closer to these outer planets that are off the screen. So these helpers are really cool. And what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to move this craft. What's really neat about this is that, you don't have to have any thrust or any propellant or anything like that with these solar sails. But even if you have a regular rocket, it doesn't take anything to actually start your movement. But what you can't do, though, is you can't move if you come up to a burn point. So in other words, if I'm at Leo, which is at low Earth orbit, and I have no propellant in my rocket, I can't burn to go to the cycler, which makes sense because you can't move your rocket. However, since we have solar sails, we have two thrusts or 2 burns that are available to us right away due to the sun's power hitting our nice solar sail. And again, this is what our solar sail looks like. Pretty cool. The art on this game is amazing. So it's created by Phil Eklund, and he and other people. I don't know if he himself is, but I know there are people on this project that made this game that are actual rocket scientists. So notice that these are spots here, and these spots are basically delta V spots. Delta V is really the difference between velocity of where you are and where you want to go. So this changes your direction in space and so forth. You can coast, of course, because there's nothing to stop you in space. So, but anyway, let's get started. I think I've talked enough about the setup. Hopefully you understand what our objectives are and what we're trying to do here. We're basically taking off from Earth. We already have done that into low Earth orbit, and now we're going to go explore. How do you do that? All right. So first thing we're going to do with this rocket is we're going to go to the cycler. So the first player is going to be the white rocket, and we're going to go to the cycler, and that's 1 burn. Now, the only objective really is to go to some type of site and get something. So for this player, I would think that the first thing they want to do is try to get to the moon, because it's super close. So let's try to go to the moon. Why not, right? All right. So we go to the moon, and here's a point here where it's a radiation. This one says radiation. But in this game, radiation really doesn't mean anything. It doesn't really matter. So we don't really have to worry about the radiation on this game. In the future, with other modules and other games, and actually the regular game, there are rolls of dice sometimes where you have to check whether or not your thrust is enough to overcome the radiation. So right now, though, we're good to go. So you can see right here that there is a right turn in order to go to the moon. So right here, we've got this radiation point, and we've got to make this right turn to go to the moon. Well, since this is an intersection with a right turn, that is called a pivot. Now, in the core game, we'll be able to do a pivot for free with a solar sail. But in this one, there is no pivot. You'll see down here that it just has a dot, and in the other core game, it'll have a ballerina move, so you can do a free pivot. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do a free pivot at this point, and it costs 2 burns otherwise. And I only have one burn left, as you recall. We burned up to Leo, and then we moved, and now we can't do a pivot here. So we're going to go down to Geo. So Geo is the space, and it is a Lagrange point. It's the Earth Luna Lagrange point. Okay, which means that at this point we are able to we have to stop here because this here is the actual Lagrange point here. This is not. Geo is not. This is Lagrange point. So next move, we'll be able to get to the moon. All right. The next person's going to go, and as we know, this person wants to go to Venus. So this person is going to go about to Venus, and they're going to attempt to land on this site here. I see there's a couple people that actually have sent messages. What's this in reference to? Okay, well, I enjoy playing board games. My site, this is my YouTube channel, and I have a whole bunch of different games and videos on here. Videos regarding the Bible and end times. Videos regarding board games, videos regarding golf. I enjoy playing golf as well. So this is my YouTube channel where I have this. I guess the purpose of this is because I got this game, and I've seen a lot of videos on this game, but I've never seen an introductory video. I've never seen one made for this Space Diamonds thing. So that's the reason why it is. But yeah, this does look complicated, but as I mentioned, it really isn't, because you just follow the dots. I want to go to the moon. Dot number 1 it has this colored in circle. That's burn number 1. Dot number 2 is burn has this red circle, and it's burn number 2. So that's about how simple it is. We're going to go to the next one. The person wants to go to Venus. So we're going to go from LEO to the cycler. That's one burn, if you remember. And this person can also go. There's many different ways to go, right? So, but the yellow line is really the best one. So we're going to go here to burn number 1, and we're going to go to SSO, which is burn number 2. So we're going to stay there because we can't burn any further and go anywhere else. So that's where we're going to go. Now, this third person just wants to grab one of each. Just one of each. So I suppose this person could look at, well, where are the M sites? There's only 2 M sites. And it looks like there's only 3 V sites. And it appears as though there's only 2 H sites. So this person here that's going to go to the moon has a pretty good opportunity to get both of these sites if this person doesn't go there. So I would say this person says, fine, I'm going to go with you over to the moon, and I'm actually going to go pick up the H site. Now, this person could say, aha, they're going to go to the H site. Well, then I'm going to go to the H site first because they're the first player. And that could happen. And then the other person could just say, well, fine, I'll just pick up an S site. So I think that's ultimately what they're going to do. They're going to try to take their chances. Hopefully the player number 1 won't be too mean and take that H site. So we'll see. Anyway, it is player number 1's turn. So here's burn number 1. This is the Lagrange point right here. So we're going to go to that Lagrange point. And now we go to this burn point, which is basically landing on the moon. And we're going to land on the S. All right. So we landed on the S, and the S gave us, see if we can see this one. Yep. It's worth 5 points. So this person's going to have 5 points at the end of the game. All right. Player number 2 is on their way to Venus, and Venus is over here, but they really want to go here. So here's burn number 1. This is a Lagrange point. This is not a burn point. That's another Lagrange point. And here is a burn. Okay, so that's our first burn. Now we're going to go to the LVO, which is low Venus orbit, which is not colored in, but this one here is acid clouds. All right, so we're going to descend onto Venus through the acid clouds. And this one here is a stopping point because it's colored in and it's red, and it's also got a skull on it, which means that you have to roll the die and see if your ship blows up in this atmosphere, basically, in these acid clouds. You'll see if whether or not I succeed or not, because it's very obvious when it is not. That is a 6. That is absolutely fine. You're like, oh my gosh, 6 is bad. No, 6 is actually really good in this case. There's only one thing that's really bad, and it's on the flip side. And you can see what, boom, it's a red die. A red 1, you blow up, and that's not good. So what you got to do if you blow up is you have to give up half of your chits rounded up, and that's really bad. So you don't really want to do that. Anyway, that's the second burn for this person, and they're there and just waiting in order to get onto Venus and go to that city. All right, third player, they have their idea there. They're going to go here for one. They're here. They're going to go here for one burn and then they're going to land on the moon, and they're going to pick up this H site, and the H site is worth 1 yellow drop. Interesting, because the first player needs yellow drops. They went to the S site. They really should have gone to the H site, but they were trying to be nice to this player, and they actually lost out twice for it. So doesn't look like player number 1's decision was very good. But player number 3 has their H token, and they're looking good. All right, back to player number 1. So player number 1 wants to get off of the moon and basically go somewhere else so that they can go to get one of those drops. And since they saw that the H site was a drop, maybe they're thinking that the other H site might be a drop too. So here's the other H site over here. Well, I don't know whether or not that's true or not, because like I said, I have not looked at these things. When I punched them out, I just put them directly onto the board. So, hey, what's up, Justin? Yeah, I do have games on my site as well. So 100%. So anyway, let's move player number 1, getting boom off of the moon here with one burn, and then they're going to take this trajectory here. That here's our Earth Luna Lagrange, which I don't need to stop at. Here's another Lagrange point, which I don't need to stop at. Here's also another one that I don't need to stop at. Here's another thing that I don't need to stop at. And then here is another burn site here. So I have to stop here. So that's 1 and 2 burns. Remember, we're in the Earth zone, and it's from where you start. So since this person is starting here in Venus, they actually get 3 burns. They get 2 plus the 1 boost from the sun in the Venus area. So here's 1 burn, and here's 2 burns, and then they're going to land. So they landed, and they got their mission, and they discovered this sea chit here, and this sea chit here is 3 points for water, and they got themselves a 3 gem for water. All right, so it's not actually 3 gem; it's just 3 points, but it's 3 for 3 water. So they've actually accomplished their mission. You'd think, okay, that's game over, right? No, you actually have to achieve 4 different chits, and then return back to low Earth orbit. And then if everyone is already back there, game's over. If not, players have 3 more turns in order to get back. So that person's got 1 chit. The other person's got the other chit, 1 chit, and 1. So we all got 1. And so now we're on to the third player. Third player got their H, and now they're going to try to get a V. And now, as you can see, the V over here is pretty good. It's pretty close. This one's pretty close too, but they actually cannot go back over this way because this is bridge. You can see here it's not connected. Not connected. Not these lines are connected. These lines are not. So you cannot go this way, which makes sense because you're in orbit going around that way, and to stop it and go back the other way is actually just would take way too much fuel, and that's just not even possible. So this person is going to try to go over to this V site. So they're going to try to get onto this this purple way, or they can try to get onto this green way here in order to go this way and then get to this V site, because the purple way can go back to this V site as well. But I think that it's not connected here, and it's going to be very difficult for this player to go back on the purple line because they have to actually go back to the cycler. So instead of that, they're going to head back toward the Earth. That's one burn. They're going to go here to the Lagrange. They're going to go here to the Lagrange, and then they're going to go over here for their second burn. So they burned here, and then they burn here. So think of it this way. They're actually burning to get there, and then they're burning to get there. So that's how you count it. You can only basically go to the next red dot if you have a burn available. All right. So that was the third player. Back to the first player. The first player wants to try to get over to that other H site because they think that that person getting the H got them the ISO, so that they want to try to get there. So here's one burn. There's no stopping. There's no stopping except for right here. This, we want to go to the H site, so we want to stop here. We could have stopped here as well, but we want to stop here. We have to stop here because we cannot make another burn, because yes, we did start in the Earth zone, which is 2 burns, but that was 1 just to get to that point. Now we need 2 to pivot. We don't have it. So they're going to stop there. All right. The second player has already done their mission. So now they're just looking to try to go somewhere and get basically 3 more chits and try to finish this game up as quickly as they can so that other players can't fulfill their objectives. So they're in the Venus zone, so they actually get 3 burns. So here we go. We're going to take off from Venus. 1 burn, 2 burns, and 3 burns. And now we got to roll again for the acid rain, because we're going up through the clouds and in the acid rain. And if we get blown up, that's going to be devastation. But we rolled another 6, so that player is good to go. All right. Player number 3 is going to try to get over to this, where was this player going again? Over to this M site and V site. V site we were going to do first. So we're going to go here. They're starting off in the Earth zone. And here's the first burn, which basically takes them to here. And they cannot pivot. They cannot go anywhere there, so because they don't have any more burns, so that's where they'll stop. All right, back to player number 1. Player number 1's trying to get to this H site. So from these pivot points, there's freedom of movement, which means that I can go here, I can go here. You just can't go back the way that you came, which makes sense. But you can turn here at any point. So what we're going to do is we're going to go this way. Cross this line. There's no stopping. There's no stopping until here. This person only has 1 burn, by the way, because they're in the Mars zone. So they only have 1 burn, 2 minus 1. They couldn't pivot anyway. So that's where they're going to have to stop. All right. Player number 2 is basically just trying to get a whole bunch of chits at this point, if they can. So where are the closest things to get chits? Right here. So let's go ahead and try that out. Here's the first burn, going to low Venus orbit, going here to the burn point. That's 1. And then for number 2, we're going to try to get to Mercury, right? So here's a Lagrange point for Venus. Here's the solar Lagrange point for Mercury. This is radiation, which we don't have to deal with right now because we're in a solar sail. And this intro game doesn't even have it. And then we go here to our second burn point. So we went 1 past the Lagrange points onto here. That's number 2. But remember, we were starting in the Venus zone. So we actually have 3 burns. So 3 burns will take us to L2 right here. And L2 is another burn point. So we have to stop there. All right. Very good. Now, on to the third player who's going to go to the V site. Here, they have got 1 burn. This is not a burn point. And that is a land. So the person's going to get their V chit. And it is worth 1 point. So they're going to put that one on there. So they have both the H and they have a V. All right. Now on to the first player. First player is trying to get over to this H site. So here it was a pivot point, right? And they only get 1 burn. So they're going to go here, 1 burn. All right. On to the second player who's trying to get to Mercury. They are in the Mercury zone right now. So they actually get 4 boosts. 4 boosts is going to really be good for them because they've got 1 boost here. 4 burns. 1 burn here, 1 burn there. That's 2. Here to L1. Here's 3. And then they're going to land on the North Pole of Mercury and capture their V chit. And this one is worth 1 point. All right. That is that player's turn. And this player got their V. So they have H and V. There's an M that's very close by. So what they want to do is they want to go to that M site. They're in the Mars zone. So they're only going to be able to burn 1 time. This is not a burn. That goes here. And in order to move, they're going to need 2 more burns. So they can't go anywhere. So that's where they'll stay. All right. Back to player number 1. Player number 1 has 2 burns because they're actually in the Earth zone here. So 1, 2. That's it. Now, player number 2 has 4 burns again. Take a look at this one. So this one can swap between the North Pole and the Discovery rupees here on this site just by traveling, basically. Here's 1 burn up and then landing down here. So they're able to capture this one as well. And this one is worth 3 points. All right. So we've got 3 chits now for that player who went to Venus and went to Mercury. Now, player number 1, get to this H site over here. I'm sorry, I skipped player number 3. Player number 3 is like, wait a minute, what about me? I want to get my M site. Yes, I agree with you. All right, so we'll only have 1 burn, so we go to here and we have to stop. Okay, player number 1 is in the Earth zone, has 2 burns. This one here is not a burn. This spot here is not a burn, but it's the rapid spin. So this is the main belt comet of Phaethon. And apparently it spins very, very rapidly. So in order to match their spin, we've actually got to, it's a skull spot, and we actually have to roll the die to see if we can adjust our spin accordingly to be able to land on it. So look at that. This die must be loaded because I've rolled 6 3 times, which is great. One is on the other side. So if it's loaded towards that side, that's a good thing. I don't think that it's loaded, but then again, put it in a machine to see whether or not it's equal or not. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and land on this H site. And they're going to claim the H. And let's see. Well, it doesn't have the yellow thing on it. It's worth 2 points. So they're racking up some good points over there. They have 5 so far, 5 points. They have 7 plus their objective, which is 3 more. So they have 10. So nobody, this person has 1 ISO already. So that one is going to hurt because this person wants to have the most ISO fuel chits, and right now they're going to need to have 2 to have the most. So they're kind of in trouble. All right, player number 2, who's on Mercury right now, wants basically to get 1 more chit, and then they're going to go home. They're going to go home as fast as they can. So the question is like, where's the closest path to the next chit? And that's where it gets very complicated sometimes, because you got to figure out your path and so forth in order to try to get there the most efficient way. Especially when you're just kind of going between one spot and another spot that are just arbitrary. There's probably some helper sheets out there that basically tell you which path to go, but I have not downloaded nor looked at them. Anyway, there's really only one path they can go out of here anyway. So you're going to fly into the sun. Just kidding. You're not going to fly into the sun, but you're going to fly very, very close to the sun, which is actually giving us 4 burns, which is cool. So here's the first burn up into outside of the planet, basically outside of orbit. Here's the Lagrange point between the sun and Mercury, and that is not a burn. Here's another burn, so that's 2. Here's another burn, that's 3. And then we're going to travel back over here to L2, which is burn number 4. So we were able to it took us a lot of burns. You can see it takes a lot of burns in order to get out and away from the sun, because the sun is so close to Mercury. There's a ton of gravity there. So the rocket is able to get out of Mercury's orbit and get on the other side of the planet from the sun. And next one, we're going to go try to get some other chits. All right, now we're at player number 3, who's finally going to be able to go get their M, because here we've got H and V, and they need an M and a D and an S and a C left. So this S looks close, but it's actually over here on this path here. I know we're almost out of the screen up there. There you go. I'll move this a little bit so you can see my full rocket up there. That's about as good as it's going to get. All right, wait a minute, my rocket's up here. So we're going to go to M. This right here, though, is a skull, and it says debris field. So there's some debris that's close to this asteroid that we're going to have to avoid. So again, don't want to roll 1. Oh my gosh, that's 4 in a row of 6. That's crazy. I mean, that is getting into insane probabilities at this point. What is that? Like 612? It's like 1 in 1,200 something. That's crazy. It's more than that, actually. It's like 1. Yeah, it's 1 in 4,000. It's a lot. It's 1 in a lot. You can roll a die 4 times, see if you can get 4 6s. All right, so let's see here. We're going to go to this M site because we only needed 1 burn to get there. So we're going to go to our M site here, and we're going to turn it over, and this person's going to get a whopping 6 points for that. I think it's better right about there. Yeah, there we go. 6 points. All right, so they got their M site. All right, so now we're back to player number one, and player number one is going to get the heck off this thing and try to get some more of these chits. There's some more around this area, so I think that they're going to just go in that area and try to get as many as they can to see if they can get some of those ISOs. So here we have the rapid spin. Again, we're going to come off this asteroid spinning like a top, so we got to make sure that we can adjust it accordingly and don't blow up. Hey, all right, a 2. So that one's safe. So here's the one burn here, and there's the second burn there. We are in the Earth zone, so we're good to go. Here's this person, second player in the Mercury zone. Mercury zone, remember, gets 4 burns. So they just need one more chit, and they are home free. And probably one of the closest ones is right here. And I think that's probably going to work out for them. So we got 4 burns. Here's a radiation. Here's the Venus Sun Lagrange point. So they're not going to have to worry about that. They're going to go here, and they're going to pivot using basically 2 burns. So we took off from here, and now we're using 2 burns. This is the 3rd burn, and we're going to land. So this person was able to make it all the way from Mercury all the way out there, even doing a pivot. So you can see how powerful this solar sail is when you start from the Mercury zone or even the Venus zone. Out here, though, it gets really difficult to use a solar sail because Mars is -1. This Ceres zone here is -2. Jupiter zone here, this is Jupiter, is -3. So 2 minus 3 gives you -1 burns. So basically, you're just coasting at that point. All right, so they were able to land on this and get their final chit. And this one's going to be worth 4 points. So we're going to put that there. And then what they're going to do next time is they're going to try to get back to Leo as quickly as they possibly can. Leo, remember that, equals low Earth orbit. So that's the second player. The third player here is basically going to try to get an S, a D, and a C. So there's a C and a D over here. There's an S here. So probably going to go over here to this S point and then travel on back over to this area here. Although they could go here first and try to get this C, because this is where Mars is. So they could go to C and D, get this D as well. This is on Deimos, which is a moon of Mars. This is Mars, that's Mars, that's Mars, and this is Phobos, which is a bigger moon of Mars. So they could go basically back this way and get to Phobos and then Deimos and then get their 6th chit and then get back home as quickly as they can. So, but first they're going to need an S. So they only have 1 burn, remember. This one here is, again, the debris field. So we're going to take off from the asteroid and go through a debris field and try not to get a 1, which is great. We got a 2. So this person's able to go over to here. And this is where there's an intersection, which means a pivot point. And this person has no burns left. So they're just going to stop right there. All right. Player number 1 is still trying to get those ISOs. So they just want to basically try to get something going on over here. So here's 1 burn here, and they're in the Earth zone, so they get 2. There was 1 burn there, and we're going to go to this pivot point here. And they can't burn anymore. So that's where they're going to stay. Remember, player number 2 wants to get back home as quickly as possible. They're in the Earth zone, so they have 2 burns to go. Here's 1 burn, and then there's 2. And that's going to take them. Well, the question is like, do we actually want to go that way? I don't really think it matters because they could have gone here, but I don't think that Actually, this is a bridge. So the bridge is going to take them back over here. Yeah, that's yeah, that's not a bad path right here, but we're already kind of on this path. I don't think it really matters either way. So that's player number 2. Player number 3 is trying to get to this S site over here. They're in the Mars zone. They only have one burn. They're going to go here to this pivot point and stop. Player number 1, this S site, they only have one burn. They go here and they. Player number 2 has 2 burns. They're in the Earth zone, so they're going to go here to the Lagrange point. They're going to go here to the burn point. They're going to go here to Sol Mercury Lagrange. They're going to go here to Venus Lagrange, and then they're going to go to Sol Earth Lagrange, and that's a burn point here. So they're going to have to stop in order to get basically back down to Earth, which makes sense. They need to slow down, right? So they're getting close to Leo. These people are are not going to be able to do what they need to do for their objectives. This obviously player 2's got a really good head up on this. So player number 3 is going to go one burn here to this S point here, because this is not a burn point. So they're able to go boom and then land. This is not an intersection. It's got a circle in, and the circle is not filled. So they can just basically go here and then land on this asteroid. This S asteroid is going to give them an ISO worth 1 point. But that is the S for them. See, the player number 1 is just basically getting unlucky and not getting any good thing. I think their biggest mistake was trying to go get the other H and thinking that was going to guarantee them, but when it didn't. So anyway, player number 3 is done with their turn. Player number 1 is going to get onto this S site here and is going to take a look, and it's worth 5 points, which is nice. All right. Player number 2 has 1. This is actually in the Earth zone. So they have 2 burns. They're going to go here to the radiation, 1 burn, and then on to Leo. So they are home free. They can't do anything more. Now each of these players have 3 turns to get back home. So 3 turns to get back home. Player number 3 is going to try to still get their C and Ds. So they're going to go out here. This is a circle. This is fine. We can go here for pivot, and they have to stop because they don't have any more fuel. Well, any more boosting from the sun, because there's just 1. They can't do a pivot for 2. They're done. So they go there and they're done. Player number 1 has 1, and they're going to go back off there so that they can burn to get somewhere else. All right. Player number 2 was done. Player number 3, this is their second turn that they have in order to get back to Earth. So I'm going to have to check real quick because I actually didn't see the end game stuff yet. But I'm going to take a look and see if they don't get back, what happens to them. End game and scoring. You are not allowed to. You're not allowed to return to Leo until you have accumulated at least 4 discovery chits. Well, this person actually has discovered 4. It triggers the in-game phase. The player will track 3 more full turns for the remaining players. So during the in-game phase, any player who reaches Leo takes no further turns. When all the players have reached Leo or the 3 turns of the past, proceed to game scoring. So in-game scoring, race home. If you make it to Leo, you actually get points. The first person to Leo gets 4, second gets 3, third gets 2, and the fourth gets 1, and the fifth gets 0. This is a game from 2 to 5 players. This version of the game, this introductory version is. Discovery Chits VP. Regardless if you return or not, you receive the VP value of all your chits, which is nice. And regardless if you return or not, receive the VP value of your completed mission cards. Well, with only 2 left, this player is not really going to be able to discover both the C and the D. So I'm thinking that this player is probably just gonna go home, because they only have one burn from here. So it doesn't really make much sense for them to go any place but home. So here we go. We're going to go back. I don't even know if they can get there. I don't know if they can even get there from here. So we'll see though. Here's one burn. This is probably the straightest path back to Earth on the green line. So there's one burn right there. They're in the Earth zone. They're going to get two more burns. All right. Player number one is going to take their second turn after the fact, and they only have one burn. They're going to go out here. I mean, they're basically going to get stranded. That's pretty obvious. Well, actually, they could go here, I guess, and then get to this burn point, but that's not really going to do them any good. They're getting stranded out there, and they can't even get to anything else as well. All right, last turn for this player. Here's a Lagrange point here. Here's the Earth-Luna Lagrange. Here's one burn, and then here's the cycler for two burns. So they just missed out on getting back to Leo. Nothing really they can do about it. And this player just going to go one burn to here. So that's the game. Game's over. So let's see how the final points came up with. Player number one did not fulfill their objective. Their objective was to get the most of these yellow things. And this player actually got two of them over here. So, yeah. But anyway, so we count up all the points here, and it's 5 plus 5 plus 2. That's 12 points. And they didn't make it back to Leo, so they don't get any points for that. This person here did complete their card. They actually did land on Venus, and they were able to complete their mission. They got how many points for that? 3 points for completing their mission. 3 points for this one. 1 point, 3 points, and 4 points. So that's 8 plus 6 is 14. Plus they were the first one back. Excuse me. That's 18 points. So 12 points for number one, 18 points for number two. And number three didn't make it back to Leo. They didn't complete their objective. So all we're looking for is points on their cards, and they got 6, 1, 1, 1. So that's 9. So player number two wins with 18. Player number 1 comes in second place with 12, and player number 3 comes in third place with 9. And that, my friends, is my very first game of High Frontier, Space Diamonds, which is the introductory game by John Manker. I was reading it sideways. John Manker, Space Diamonds. We are going to be back with the second episode of this, which is going to be Space Diamonds again. However, this time we're not going to use solar sails. We're actually going to use rockets that are propelled by fuel. So stay tuned for that one. And thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed High Frontier Space Diamonds. Like I said, this is, I believe, the only video that's out there that shows how to play Space Diamonds. So, yeah. Anyway, enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.